after senior high education, primary to the senior high education, the next degree that my people have to do is to go to border and go and do what? Kayayo. No school. The only school that we have again is the RC Senior High School that belongs to the Catholic Mission. It's now what? A minor seminary. So this thick population have no place to go. And people sit down in that big hall called Parliament without thinking of Aflao, a place after the Tema Harbor. The next revenue generation is from Aflao border. It's from Aflao border. And I have to push the former President Mahama for that structure to be what? Constructed over there. I have to be running from here to Accra. Begging. Should we beg for education? No. There's something happening.
The allegation that we have abandoned the road projects that we came to have is difficult.
How about the e-blocks?
Many of them. I think I'll find an opportunity to tell you that many of them are being worked on across the country.
Let me just take one, Mr. President. The one in Aflao where the chief himself has complained. Aflao Pacha said e-block no oba my education minister up to February say oba yehu bibi. It's on the
minister ultimatum.
Also abre.
And
Inti obisa no there na beka every out of frustration e be okasa.
When bia so no ye boabo ye honi aye as much as possible.
You're welcome back. And let's get to know our guest this morning for the show. Now, we have Kofi Bento, who is a lawyer and is Senior Vice President, Imani Africa. He's joining us by Zoom. Also joining us by Zoom is Harry Yamson, fellow Solidarity Ghana. And Solidarity Ghana is a think tank dedicated to promoting left-of-center views on governance, pro-people policy, and efficient and effective policy implementation and evaluation. You have heard Mr. Yamson on this show a couple of times, and I'm sure you understand what we just referred to. Gentlemen joining us via Zoom, good morning. Thank you very much for making the time.
Good morning, Samson.
Right. Martin Pebu is with us. Hello, Martin.
Morning, Sam.
Great. Right. Yeah. So, in the studio, we have Sami Jemfi, National Communications Officer, the National Democratic Congress. He's also a lawyer. Dr. Oko Boy, former Deputy Minister of Health and member, Government's Communication Team. Gentlemen, thank you very much for making the time to join us.
Thanks for having us.
Right.
Thank you, Council.
Right. You've been writing since you came. You've been writing. Okay. So, gentlemen, these are very serious issues that we want to look at as regards the abandonment of projects, allegedly, and how a lot of money gets, sunk into these projects and we lose all of it. Meanwhile, we're a poor country. We go borrow the money and then we just throw it away. Let's begin very briefly with what is happening to the senior high school projects. That's the school that's been built, which is said to be 90% complete in Aflao, and yet has been left to rot. Thieves, the chief tells us, have been entering the place and picking even some of the materials that have been left there, the issues that came as a result of that. So let's begin with you, Sami. What's your understanding of this issue, and have you heard what the ministry have to say about that as well?
Well, first of all, let me say
Good morning to our cherished viewers and listeners. This issue is a very important issue.
It is.
You know, we say that governance is a continuum. And even if you look at our constitution, specifically Article 35, Clause 7, under the directive principles of state policies.
That's right.
Governments are required to continue and execute programs and projects that are commenced by previous governments. And so when a political party assumes the reins of power, that is what the people of this country expect from that government. Because like you said, these projects are undertaken with taxpayers' monies. They are undertaken with the meager resources of state. And so must be continued so that the people can enjoy the benefits of those programs. Now, when we were in office, in line with our promise to build 200 community-day senior high schools, we started at least 124 projects. And the objective was to expand access to quality health, education, to pave way for the full or wholesale implementation of the free SHS policy. At the time we were leaving office, about 46 of these projects have been fully completed and finished. And 30 others were at different levels. I mean, we're above 90% completion stage, and the rest at different levels of completion. And one of those projects which were yet to be completed was the E-block project at Aflao. Now, that project was part of the last batch of E-blocks we awarded in 2015. The contractor moved to site sometime in 2016. And at the time we were leaving office, the project was at the second story level. Now, the NPP took office. The contractor continued working, but there were serious issues with payments. And so the pace of the project slowed down. And a project which was supposed to be completed by 2017, 2018 has still not been completed in 2021. And what is even worse is that the contractor has abandoned site. He's left site because he's not being paid. And that is why the chief and people of Aflao and the Volta region as a whole are frustrated. Because like we just heard Tobe Fiti the Fifth, who is the paramount chief of the area, explain, there are a lot of people in that area or that part of the country, and access to secondary education is a problem. They have to travel to other areas, in the region before they can even enjoy secondary education. And so for them, this project was going to address a very important challenge, that is access to secondary education in that enclave. And they are disappointed that it's been almost 5 years since this government took office, and yet that project, which was at the second story level when we were leaving office in 2016, has still not been completed. Now, what crime has the chief committed to lament or to express this frustration, to elicit the kind of response, cheeky, cocky, insulting response we heard from His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo? It is absolutely reprehensible and condemnable for President Akufo-Addo to have retorted that way, that the chief can go and complete the project if he is frustrated. Really? Do we pay our taxes to Tobe Fiti the Fifth? When revenue is collected at Aflao border, is the revenue given to Tobe Fiti the Fifth? No, the revenue is given to central government, and the president is the head of government. The project is a GOG-funded project. And so it is a responsibility of government to find money to complete the project, and not the responsibility of Tobe Fiti. And President Akufo-Addo knows that, but he was just being cocky and cheeky. Okay, and what he said, for me, is not only an insult to Tobe Fiti the Fifth, but is an insult to all the people of Aflao, and I would add, all people of other extraction. Because I dare say that President Akufo-Addo cannot look his own chief, a man I respect so much, the Ochehne in the face and speak to him the way he spoke to Tobe Fiti the Fifth. I'm not sure he can speak to that Asante in the way he spoke to Tobe Fiti the Fifth. And something, of course, you know how we revere our chieftaincy institution. You know how we are so mindful when it comes to our cultural values relative to our reverence for our chieftaincy institution. This is not the example the president should be setting. Now, if you listen to that whole interview, it looked as if the president no longer cares about anybody in this country. He has no respect for anybody because he's in the second term, and so arrogance of power has taken over him. Never in the history of this country have I ever seen any president display this level of arrogance and disrespect to no less a person than a chief. Tobe Fiti is no less chief. He has several sub-chiefs under him. And I think that it was very unfortunate that President Akufo-Addo retorted that way. The issue the chief raised is a very germane issue. The president has the responsibility.
Do you find that what the president was told the chief had said is what may have led to that response, which some say was a joking response? That the chief has given you, the president, an ultimatum to fix this place by X time. And the chief never did that. What the chief did was to sort of encourage the education ministry or minister. He said the education minister to ensure that something was done. And the media, sections of the media, including show hosts, projected a wrong question to the president. Is that not what it is?
I don't think that, in all fairness, we can blame the host for the answer President Akufo-Addo gave, even if the host had misrepresented what the chief has said. I think that the president should have still demonstrated some respect, for Tobe Fiti the Fifth. Yes, I mean, even if what KSK said was true, which isn't true, but even if it were true, that the chief had given the ministry an ultimatum to fix or to complete that project, what is wrong with it? I mean, would that be the first time a chief will be given an ultimatum to government functionaries to complete a project? Clearly, the people are frustrated. They've waited for 5 good years, and the project is rotting away.
Okay.
And something, by the way, speaking about e-blocks, because I know we'll have time to speak about other abandoned projects. Speaking about e-blocks, this is just one out of, more than 100 e-blocks that they have abandoned since they took office. If you go to Ashanti region, for example, at Adansia Pidra, there is an e-block there which has reached a 90% completion stage, which has been abandoned, since 2017. If you go to Adansi Fumsu in Adansia Sokwa, the e-block project we put up there is 70% complete, yet it has been abandoned. If you go to Kwabenakwa in Obuasi East constituency, there is another project there, e-block, that they have abandoned. If you go to the same Volta region, where the project we are discussing is located, in the Zini Community Day Senior High School, for that project, it has reached the roofing level, it's been plastered, frames have been fixed, yet this government, has abandoned the project. Doremon Community Day Senior High School, same thing. Welembele Community Day Senior High School, Naru Community Day Senior High School, Konza, Boo Community Day Senior High School, and several other projects, all in the area of education. Then you come to Bono region, Adamsu, German South, Bau, Banda District, Buaku, Wenchi, Diadaso, German North, Abisim, New Doma. They are e-block projects which have reached different levels of completion, which they have abandoned. Now, I can go on and on and on, but the point is, this government is the most resourced government in the history of this country. They've had access to more revenue than any government in the history of this country. More taxes, more oil revenue, more borrowed funds. They have failed to invest in infrastructure and other productive sectors of the economy. They don't have even one hospital to show for all the revenue they have gotten. They don't have one secondary school to show for all the revenue they've gotten in the last 4.5 years. And yet, the projects that were commenced by the ex-NDC Mahama administration have been abandoned for all these years. And when you complain, they insult you and they say you don't have a right to complain. Go and fix it if you are frustrated. In the health sector, the NMS projects we started, which was made up of 7 hospital projects. Apart from the Dodowa one, which was completed in 2016 under President Mahama, the Formena and Abitifi ones, which were at 80% completion stage, have been abandoned. The Kumawu one, which was at 70% completion stage, has also been abandoned. Then the Sekendi and the Garu projects under the NMS hospital projects have also been abandoned. Why? Because when they took office, they ordered the contractor to halt work under the guise of an audit they needed to conduct. After 3 years of conducting that audit, they found nothing incriminating against the contractor or any former government official. Then the contractor said that because of the delay, he had incurred some forex losses to the tune of $38 million. And so they should pay that before he moves to site. They have refused to pay. And so for 5 years now, these projects, which should have been completed latest 2017, 2018, have been abandoned. Yes, the no-best syndrome is on the rise. You go to the hospitals today and you don't, people don't even have beds.
So to just hold it there, And Oko, I believe that you, in looking at this, the SHS, building matter, would want to focus on what the ministry has been informing the public as far as its efforts in seeking to complete and the number it has completed and the plans it has going forward is concerned, right?
Yes, Council, thank you very much. Let me say a very good morning to all of you and to my brother, Sami. The JM administration promised to build 200 community day schools. This promise came 2012 when JM assumed office. The plan was to build 50 annually. So that when you multiply by 4, you get 200. The promise was in 2012. What is interesting is that the project actually commenced in 2014. Now, that also tells you a lot. It means that even from conceptualization, Council, to actual beginning of a project, involves some work and some obstruction sometimes. If it was that easy, when JM conceived it before becoming president, right from 2012, it would have started. So, because of the partisan politics, sometimes we talk as if when you see a project hanging, then it means that the one there doesn't want to continue. But even JM, who conceived 200 schools, the conception was at 2012, commencement was at 2014. It's instructive to take note of that. Now, secondly, 50 were supposed to be built for phase 1, which commenced in March 2014, Council. Sami Ablakwa, my senior Odadie, who said on air, and I heard him clear, that you are supposed to averagely use 18 months at West to complete a community day school. Now, from March 2014 to the time they left office, Council, you have more than 18 months in that period. The question is that, how come they didn't finish 50 for the phase 1, according to Sami's own timeline? Phase 2 commenced in July 2015. When you calculate the number of months, from July 2015 to December 2016, Council, when I calculated, it's 17 months. That one too was supposed to be 51. So going by their own books, we should have had 51 plus 50, we should have had 101 schools completed. In fact, because it's 17 months, let me even grant it. Maybe 90 completed, some few ones at 90-80% by their own calculation. Now, how come by the time they were leaving, it was actually 29 schools that had been handed over? I've heard them saying 40 something. Let me even grant the 40. If your plan was that 18 months should give birth to 50, why? And now let me come to the real deal, where politicians try to stay away. What are the things that makes a project become a white elephant? Council, in their case, these are the possible factors. 1, payment of certificates. So that although their timeline should have given us close to 100, the reason why they only handed over 29 according to us, 40 by them, is that there were contractors that had not been paid their certificates. So their work was not on schedule. That's the first point. Politicians wouldn't talk about that because they're in opposition and they want power. Council, the second one is capacity of the contractor. So if you go and give a community day school that should take 18 months to a contractor who even does not have the resources to buy one truck of chippings, but must get money from the state before they do that, an 18-month project can take 5 years. That's the second one, which a politician in opposition wouldn't mention. The third one, which a politician in opposition wouldn't mention, are contractual issues, although I've not started law yet. The Lekma Road taught me some very serious lessons. I rushed to the minister and said, send a contractor there. And then he told me, young man, number one, there is a contractor already on the books. The gentleman is owed about 5 IPCs. He has raised them, certificates. All comes to about close to 100 million. Do you have the money to pay him before you go there? So, young man, first point, we have to look for money. Number two, young man, I can't terminate because the fault is not from him. We didn't pay him. So, young man, even if you have a contractor, forget it. Third one, young man, I have to sit with him, find some money for him, and beg him to go. It's at his discretion to decide whether when I give him 20 million is sufficient to get him to the road. Some say these are things I learned the hard way. So we had to scale all these hurdles before finally it became clear that even when we found some money for the contractor, he said, look, this is not a project I'm interested in because of the attitude that government over the years has treated me. We ended up going to the courts and then all that. These things a politician in opposition wouldn't tell you. But the ordinary man can be told that, oh, people of Lejokuku, they don't like you, so the road is hungry. But they don't tell you that there are debts to be paid. Now, let me come to the Aflao case. It is instructive to note, and this a lot of people didn't know, that the project wasn't completed by the time we came. The impression was created that they've built an E-block. Because of our non-committal, we've left it and it's rotting. Apparently, they had done first floor. After 4 years in power, it was first floor. They had done the wooden, the pictures are there, I can later give it to your producers. They had done the wooden structure to now do the concrete for the second floor. This government did the second floor and the third floor. Did all the finishing. And in operationalizing a school, it also takes time. Someone can say, oh, but doc, it can be quicker. I wouldn't contend that person. But it's important for us to be honest in our discussions that this government also has committed resources to that project. And if a chief has a frustration, it's genuine. But look, let me say this, which is very important. I've given an asterisk. The chief said, I had to be going to Accra. I went begging. He used the word begging. Is a chief supposed to beg? Strictly speaking, no. But because there's competition for resources, I've also begged before for items for Lejokuku. Because I know I'm competing with Salaga. I'm competing with Kofoida. I'm competing with Sola. So if you're a chief and a project is not going like the way you go, the tone and way you speak is not to give ultimatums if you appreciate the dynamics of governance. So really, I agree that the response from the president was stern. I was looking for appropriate words. Stern, a response that is firm, is to remind the chief of some things which I've listed here. Number one, show respect to whoever must sit among competing interests and try and allocate.
The chief disrespected the president?
If I
do you want to listen to the chief again? He didn't mention the president.
No, they've not played out. When the ultimatum, when he told the MPs, go and tell him, go to Accra and tell him, I'm giving you an ultimatum by February.
The minister
represents...
Not the president.
No, but please, the minister acts on behalf of the president. So it's an instruction to the executive, more or less. Let's be real. So the point I'm making is that when you are instructing an executive who must sit among competing interests, the vehicle you have chosen, first of all, is not like the one he chose during JM's time. He went begging JM. Why did he beg? Because he knows there's competition. How come when power changes, you won't? I said I've begged before. You don't talk like that. You see, when you talk like that, you can get a stern response, a steely response. They say steely. It means the response is firm and straight. It's to remind, no, and I've written this one too. The one who gives an ultimatum, if it's not obeyed, also has some powers to either execute what is asked for or to find a way of completing. So the president reminded through his, I don't know how to, you see, let's us all be honest. Words are not enough. The manner in which you put them. I can tell someone who is being funny that will stop being stupid or don't be stupid. And we are all laughing. Someone can also tell you, you give a funny answer, someone can say, don't be stupid, and you feel insulted. So the point I'm making is that it's also because of partisan politics. But the president's retort...
You're saying the president did not misspeak?
No, I'm saying that his retort, if you consider the atmosphere, his retort was more or less to say that when you talk like that, it means there are a lot of things you don't know because you don't have the power. You understand? And I've heard people say, would you talk to a Chebi chief like that? And I'll not even go to Chebi. There's one chief who has always been my mentor, Toby Afede. If Toby wants something for voter, he wouldn't speak like that to a minister or nana. And you know, I've studied.
What exactly is the problem?
No.
Wait. What exactly is the problem? Ordinary Ghanaians who are voters, they vote you, the politicians in power, and they have a right to make demands.
I know.
They have the rights to feel frustrated, and sometimes they go on demonstrations. And they issue ultimatums. So supposing that a chief who has many people under him feels frustrated and he says, fix this by this time to the minister, what's sinful about it?
Something, if the chief had talked or presented his case like the way he presented, I don't think the response from the president would be steely as in firm. See, there's a way you see, we are a nation, we are practicing democracy, but some people are using certain routes which are decorous to get their results, especially because of the competition. You know, there is one word here now, which is fundamental in economics. Unlimited demands, limited resources. So really, those who say, oh, a Chebi, you can see where it's going. If it had been your chief, would you talk like that? Why, I told someone that, why do they put chiefs indoors and teach them some etiquettes and things before they come out? It's because there's a way to present a case. If Otunfo Afede wants to tell president, even the harshest criticism, there is a way you put it. Even the one you are criticizing will say, thank you very much for this criticism.
I see.
You know, I've
heard Otunfo. Hold on.
Who misspoke?
Hold on.
What is saying?
Hold on, please.
Yeah. Okay.
I've heard Otunfo speak very harshly to the politicians, and he never gets any such reply. But hold on. I didn't want to appear to speak a lot.
All right. Okay.
So I said I knew you will focus on, because you are coming from government, you focus on the Ministry of Education's response. So the Ministry of Education denies that it has abandoned the e-block projects in general.
Absolutely.
And it insists that all the 60 completed e-block projects constructed under both the NPP and the NDC government have been operationalized and are currently in use. Then it says, quote, it is important to note that all the 60 completed schools have been operationalized and are currently in use. It is therefore inaccurate to suggest that these projects have been abandoned. Government of Ghana, Ministry of Education remain committed to completing all the remaining projects, unquote. They said in a statement. Now, you told us, and he had also suggested earlier, that in fact they had done only the first floor. This is a building of how many floors? Three. That they had done the first floor, and then you came and continued to get it to the 90%. In that regard, let me ask you just, for just 1 minute. Don't do more than that. I need Martin and this thing.
Maybe later I'll do my responses.
How do you even seek to feel that the chief is justified?
The chief is justified because the project has a specific duration. The duration for the completion of the e-block project is 18 months.
Are you at 17
Now,
months?
please, hold on. 18 months. The project did not start in 2014, like you said. It started in 2016, because not all the 124 projects we awarded were awarded at a go in 2014. It was part of the last batch of projects which were awarded. Okay, so we awarded that in 2015. Construction started in 2016. We did the first floor, got to the second floor. By now, it's taking you 5 years. Are you getting me? You should have completed the project.
So what do you mean by abandonment when the project has in fact continued?
No, the project has been has continued, but it should have been completed latest by 2018.
Whilst I spoke to you, you repeatedly used the word abandoned. How do you accuse somebody who has continued a project, but perhaps it has halted, which is normal with all of you, all the government.
Hold on.
How do you accuse the person of abandoning the project?
Accuse the person of abandonment, number one, when the contractor has left the site for non-payment. Number two, when the project, which was supposed to take just 18 months, maximum 24 months, has taken 5 years, close to 5 years. That's the point I'm making. Close to 5 years. So that is abandonment, because the school cannot be operationalized at in its current state. And so
once again, what's the source of funding for the project? What's the source of funding?
23 of the 124 were funded with a facility from the World Bank.
That's correct.
But the rest were GOG funded projects.
Great.
And the timeline was 18 months. I'm saying that if President Mahama had won the 2016 election, the project would have been completed in 2017 or latest 2018.
Thank you.
We are in 2021.
Now hold on.
You have not completed
Now hold on.
the contractor has left site.
Thank you.
You have abandoned the project.
Thank you. Just hold on. Just a minute. Yes. What are you saying?
If
Kofi Bentel, I'm coming to you.
If I were given the opportunity to award Journalist of the Year, I'll give you that award for this question you asked.
I'm Journalist of the Year.
Deal with the issues.
Please allow me, please. I'm talking about.
So you didn't even.
Hold on. Because of your question, very, very significant. How do you use the word abandon when the government has invested resources in a project and brought it to a level which is higher than what you had? Secondly, if it took 4 years it took after this chief went to Accra to beg JM, it took 4 years from 2012. 2016 before you become before you start. How can you accuse the one who within these 4 or 5 years has not only this project, has continued with many others, completed 31 and is still working on others? The word abandon they use is for propaganda effect, to create the impression that the government
has been abandoned, and that is a
Kofi, hold on. Kofi, the ministry says it sought to give the clarification that it gave because of what the chief told the minority, the caucus that visited or is visiting these projects. The ministry says that the contracts were awarded for only 124 out of 200 E-block projects. Out of the 124 projects, 101 was expected to be funded by the government of Ghana in 2 phases. Phase 1 of the project consists of 50 schools and commenced in March 2014. Phase 2 was made of 51 that commenced in July 2015. Only 29 out of the 124 projects were completed between 2014 and 2016. The NDC disagrees. While 31 new schools were constructed in 2017, 31 were constructed in 2017, bringing the total number of completed projects to 60 as of September 2020. Is it fair to isolate this Aflao project and 1 or 2 others in other places to say that this government has abandoned those projects?
Thank you, and good morning to all the guys in the studio and my senior Martin. So it is not fair, but there is a point there. Now, what we need to appreciate is that when politicians make political promises without properly analyzing those promises, you remember we introduced the issues of value for money and quantitative and all those things, and some people laugh at us. When they make these promises because they want to, etc., what we found in these things over the years is that commit scarce resources. They commit the scarce resources to promises are not properly analyzed. These and then the next government is somehow held hostage to either continue something which is not too viable or get this kind of problem. Now, that this on the broader level, because we need to holding our politicians.
Okay, so Kofi, I'm very sorry. We need to hear you and hear you very clearly. Your internet connection doesn't seem to be stable. For a long while, I was expecting it to improve, but it wasn't. So, I'm going to Martin and get my production team to work with you, even if it has to be putting you on phone, so that we can hear you very clearly. Yes, Martin, what do you have to say?
Okay. So, Sam, one small comment on your take before I come to this abandoned project. Please, not for 1 second, should we encourage IGP to ask prosecutors to ask that accused persons be remanded where that investigations have not been completed, when there's obviously no need for further investigations? It's becoming one too many.
I fight that in court every day.
Human rights also matter. Human rights are part of the development. So IG should know that he should respectfully observe the human rights of accused. If you don't need a person in custody, this thing about let's teach him a lesson, please. It's barbaric. It's long gone. If you want to teach him a lesson, you let him be admitted to bail, and then make sure you prosecute. You ask for the case to be expedited. Say you want it heard on daily basis so that you finish quickly, and then he'll be punished.
All right.
You can't use bail as punishment. Please, because we kept hearing the investigators and the regional commander telling us that order from above. Please, that must stop.
Okay.
Where is these very prominent people? Where are they running to over misdemeanor offenses? I have even watchmen, students facing murder trial. They are on bail and they've not absconded. And you say Shatawale will abscond. You say Bishop Stephen Appiah will abscond. Come on, let's get serious over this matter.
Okay, so Martin, yes, Martin, let's move on to because you are speaking to my take, which is not open for discussion, that I grant you that. I need to state this. You are not actually speaking to my take. You are speaking to what the courts have done. Because in my take, I seek to give education, not saying that there's justification to hold people in custody when they can be admitted to bail. In fact, on this show, I have said countless times that bail cannot be used as punishment because that is the law. And I've given a lot of education on that. I fight these things in court myself all the time. So thank you very much. Now, to the alleged abandoned projects and what we have heard so far on the e-blogs. Specific to that, because we'll go to Commander and expand the discussion to the general issue on the basis of Article 25(7), which says that as far as practicable, a government shall continue and execute projects and programs commenced by the previous government. Yes.
Yes, Article 35(7). Yes, that's the beginning. Yes. And look, Sam, when this matter came up and I kind of followed it a bit, I said, let me check on the net and see, in recent times, who has raised it. And lo and behold, I saw no less a person than Mr. Ishmael Yamson, former MD of Unilever and chair of the University of Ghana Council. At the New Year, annual New Year school, 2020, he raised it that problem is just getting out of hand. This issue of a new government comes and abandons projects started by the old one. Okay, so he supports the call for us to we should amend the constitution. That's the way he said it. I've seen other people also say that.
Please, your mic is muted. Your mic is muted.
Yeah, okay, Sam. Okay, so I have to start again. Yeah, so I said, in researching on this topic, I saw that Mr. Ishmael Yamson, the former MD of Unilever and chairman of the University of Ghana Council, raised that matter last year at the New Year school, that we should do something about it. We should amend the constitution. So he says that from the way he sees Article 35(7), saying that as far as practicable, the government should continue projects started by the previous one. He thinks Article 36, the part that says that the government should come up with a coordinated project, seems to nullify the 35.7. So he's referring to Article 36, Clause 5. That says that the President shall present to Parliament a coordinated program of economic and social development policies, including agricultural and industrial programs at all levels and in all regions of Ghana. You say, so this is one of the things he thinks, based on it, governments usually have the leeway to start their own projects and abandon the old ones. At least he has something to say. The reason I say we should look at it, what Mr. Ishmael Yamson says, is that you see that he has a wealth of experience, decades, you say, and he's been near the corridors of power. I didn't see that provision as the one that should be used to, curtail 35.7. But here is the case, Mr. Yamson, who is near, he's been near people in power, says that that's how it's seen. So I think I want to support the call that we should fashion laws to give 35.7 more teeth, clarify it, so that it will be clear that don't start new projects until you've completed the old ones. I think that'll be clear.
Now, Martin, what's wrong with us? Is it about laws that we need? Every day we are talking about let's give a new law. What's wrong with us? The Constitution says, as far as practicable, continue projects that were started. How does that lead us to having a Job 600 sitting in this country for a decade without attention? How does that lead to a project started by, is it a Champon or who? Seth Kwamboatin did a story on the Konfanochi Teaching Hospital maternity block. It was abandoned for how many years? Over 40 years. Now we have to destroy it and start all over again. What's wrong with us? The Constitution should force us to think.
Yes, Sam, what is wrong with us? One of them, I cannot profile all the answers, but one of them is that this authoritarian constitution we have, a rule by one person, a very authoritarian constitution, very lopsided. You concentrate all the power in the hands of the president, and this is what you get. This is what you get when you concentrate all the power in the hands of one person.
No, but Martin, you have a government that has come in. It says we want to do affordable housing. It has committed our tax money. In fact, much of it loans that it has taken. And in fact, you are generating money to just service the interest on the money. Okay, on the loan. We have Saglema, which is sitting there. Okay, we have had previous situations. Kufuor did the affordable housing. They were sitting there. They were almost abandoned. We take the people's money, spend in these projects, and then you come and you say, oh, I don't want to continue. I want to do something else. Then in the end, some of these projects, we have to spend extra money just so that we can lose them. It doesn't make sense. Constitution should come and tie your hands.
The synopsis I was sent, it shows that 73% of the losses incurred by the District Assembly's Common Fund, this is 73% of the losses come from projects that are re-awarded, cancelled, or stopped. 73%. And then they estimated that last in 2020 alone, that was about 35 million, 35.4 million. That is it. So, Sam, for me, I think the problem is about the Constitution. Because what can you do to the president until in 4 years' time? And that's how come this same matter brings to the fore the election of the DCs, MMDCs. Yes, this matter brings to the fore that election again. Let's continue the fight that, look, we want elections at the local government level on non-partisan basis. Sam, not long ago, you see what the president did. Ajimamenu threw our constitution to the dogs. He entered into an illegal contract, embarrassed us internationally, Minister of Health. Yet the president, we railed and railed. The president only joked about it, like the way he's joked about Togbe Fiti. So you see why Sami Jemfi would say the president is getting very arrogant. I mean, people are railing and railing that.
And you are still faulting the Constitution. The Constitution should hold people's hands to get them to do things.
Yes, but now that we've seen the mischief, it means that we'll use the law to cure it. You know, in interpretation, the mischief rule. Because you can't do much until the next election. But is that how we should govern? Because day in, day out, you see Adjumamenu, Minister of Health, is in office after throwing our constitution to the dogs, after embarrassing us, after entering into an illegal contract that the Supreme Court says in such matters we shouldn't pay a dime. Yet we've paid the shake and all that. So they say we should wait till 2024. So that means that what we can do is to amend our laws because the politicians are getting mischievous.
Martin, sorry, but I don't understand you on that point again, because you have just referred to where even Parliament's committee sat and concluded, a committee chaired by leaders of both houses, persons from both divide. They confirm that the man has breached all your laws, and he's still not punished. Why do you want more laws? What is the use of more laws?
Yes, so we based upon the weakness in the law that we've seen. So maybe we will put, so let's say that specific one, Adjumamenu zone, we'll put a provision that once the Committee of Parliament finds you liable, straight away you are dismissed from office. We don't even need an executive letter to that effect. That way we would have taken that power from the president. That, look, if the committee finds the person liable, he leaves office. If he lies, he can pursue his appeal, but immediately he leaves office. That would be good. Because I can't believe it for 1 second that Adjumamenu is still in office.
Okay.
Look at Ejura. Look at what Simon Osei-Mensah did. After causing soldiers to kill our fellow citizens, he's still in office, enjoying all the privileges, all the perks. He will go everywhere with siren. People will stop to let him pass. A man who has murdered citizens, is still in office. No remorse at all. I mean, how have we sunk so low?
Okay.
Why?
All right.
We forget that even General Champon, Ankra, one sentence, Sam. General Ankra, as president of Ghana, resigned just over an allegation of bribery. I think, was it $15,000? Not much, not more than $20,000. General Ankra, as president, to show his honor, resigned his position.
Okay.
Then more than 40 years on, look at what we are doing.
Yes, I need us to quickly do and dovetail the Commander Sugar Factory issue. Kofi Bento, thank you very much. Hopefully we are on a clearer line with you. And Martin refers us to what the Auditor General's report tells us, that in 2020 alone, or is it just in 1 year alone, the cost of abandoned and delayed projects to this country is 35.4 million Ghana cedis. This is what the politicians are reducing us to, just leaving projects there to rot.
Yeah, and Samson, it's been a feature of our politics for many years. You just talked about the 40-year Kumasi project, which we had to bring down. I happen to believe that this problem, like you are saying, does not really require constitutional review. This problem can be solved as we are here with the Parliament's appropriations arrangements, and also through Parliament or within Parliament. Our Parliament has a right to reject the budget of the President. Our Parliament has a right to ask for things to be reviewed and certain things to be done, especially when it comes to even spending and projects. And then also we can set projects in legislation. So for instance, if President Mahama wanted to do the e-blocks, we can actually pass legislation that says we should do these things and finish them, etc. And Parliament can use its powers. It's not everything that has to be spelled out in the Constitution. It can use its powers to stop a new project through the appropriations arrangement and insist that an existing project be done. For instance, Saglemi, okay, and all those other things. So bottom line, it is a failure of our political elites. And I think that even under the present circumstance, there are enough arrangements to deal with it. If they are not dealt with, it is within our rights and indeed our responsibility, especially people like Toby Fiti and co, to speak up the way Toby Fiti spoke up. He has my respect. That is what chiefs must do. So I don't think that the president should be defending or his people should be defending his remarks. It was poor. It was not well calibrated. So let's get it right. Our politicians are leading us into all kinds of promises which create these problems. In my earlier submission, what I was saying was that when they make the promises, Imani, for instance, gets to assess them. And in a number of cases, the promises are patently bad, like Omenda. And they are so bad that the next government cannot actually continue. If anybody puts new money behind Commander, it's more money wasted. In certain cases, the promises are a knee-jerk reaction. The e-blocks were a knee-jerk reaction to the NPP's free SHS. When we analyzed the E-blocks at the time when they were proposed and the numbers were put out, I was on a Joy FM program and we analyzed the number of E-blocks that they had to build for that project to be completed before President Mahama left. And it was like 2 a month or so. It was clearly impossible even if we had all the money. So we have a situation where our politicians are driven by politics. They don't do the right analysis. They come and make wild promises. Unfortunately, they put our scarce resources behind those wild promises. When they do that, they don't complete. Then the next government comes in. Sometimes out of their own politics, they don't want to complete, which is wrong. But sometimes there are real practical problems with the projects that we are speaking about, contractual problems like Dr. Okubo spoke about, and real practical issues like Commander, where we cannot refine sugar from Commander and sell it in the market at an economic price. Okay, so there is a lot to be said about the way these things come about. But in terms of finding an answer, immediately what we can say emphatically, and if we have time, we'll explain it, is that this problem can be solved within the political process. For instance, when the president brought his budget, the parliament today, given its composition, could have isolated the spaces or the areas on infrastructure or on education, etc., and refused those. And in their debates and other things, they would have given the hint or given more or less an instruction and say, come back and give us a plan for completing these ones before you go and start the new ones. Saglami was sitting there, and then the politicians went and tried to start a new one. Through the parliamentary process, that could have been stopped. All right. As for the justiciability of the constitutional provision on continuing the projects, honestly, given the structure of our politics, you cannot or should not properly tie a new government to the ill-conceived project of an old government. Because new things keep coming up. So we need to take a good look at this. But from our own work, from STX time, even before till now, what we find is that our politicians don't do the necessary due diligence before making wild promises.
Right.
And even when the promises are sound, free SHS is a good idea. Our problem with free SHS has always been that it was not well conceived. It was going to lead to serious financial problems down the line. We are experiencing them now. Right. So we should force our politicians to do the necessary background work, the value for money analysis, quantify the benefits, find the funding, lay things out. And the last point is this. We can set these projects in legislation. In fact, that's what they do in the States. So if somebody comes up and says, free SHS, A, B, C, we can have legislation to take care of it. We have GET Fund, which is legislation to fund education. We have NHIS, which is legislation to fund health. We can conceive these things properly and actually find a way of where are we going to get the money to fund these projects. That way, Parliament will refuse to fund any other project in the same vein if these projects have not been completed. But that is if the projects are properly conceived and well analyzed in the beginning. Right. So the point is, our politicians are not helping us, and we ought to take these things and criticize them. I salute Toby Fiti on that.
There's a report by the Ministry of Education on the assessment it did. And in that report, you find that 64 of these E-block schools remain uncompleted. And then 27 have been terminated. 27 of the contracts have been terminated.
Substructure level.
At substructure level. Or not started at all, have been terminated. Kofi, these schools look ideal. They look your best way of fashioning a school environment. Why would the present government be interested in terminating some of them rather than doing all of them and keeping this as the model for our, secondary school structure?
Mainly because of politics. And let's be honest about this. I mean, politics is people competing. We've heard over and over and over again that one of the main reasons why projects are not completed is because the name of the person who started it is attached to the project. So we call them the Mahama E-blocks. All right. And that creates a political problem because then the new government does not want to continue and complete Mahama E-blocks. For them, it gives credit to the other person. But in doing that, they shortchange the whole country and they send us down this rabbit hole of consistently losing money. Then the other thing we have not spoken about, and we need to deal with that, is corruption. It's plain corruption. Many of these projects were stopped in the name of reviewing and seeking, to, audit them, and not much was found. Now, sometimes too, the corruption leads to wrong procurement arrangements. It leads to all kinds of jockeying where somebody stops somebody sends a new contractor in. And when governments change, you'll be amazed how many new contractors, come up. And then people sue. You and I know how many cases are in court. We were speaking, somebody was sending me, information about how they are going to collect their money for some of the projects they did that they were run out. That corruption we need to deal with. The way to deal with it is to make sure that these civil and public servants, including the political hacks, who mess with these projects for their own gain, we should find them out and make them pay a high price for it.
Okay.
If you go through what you are talking about, some of these novations to the contract, some of these amendments, some of these stoppages were done by public and civil servants trying to edge one person out and bring another person in. And sometimes it fails. And when it fails, this person goes and collects judgment debt, the project hands, and then we lose money. We need to drill down and find who are dealing with these things in these ways. Go through SACLEMI.
Okay.
Every government project, you find some of those people. We should deal with the corruption aspect.
Right. Let me bring in Harry Amson in here at this point and begin with this question. And I know you like to take, the broader perspective, angles of the issues, but the blame thing, we do it too much in this country, isn't it? We like to blame and just end it there. Now, if you have started a project and I come to inherit the project, I should be entitled to do an audit to determine where I start. I should be entitled to do an audit to determine if I should continue with one or two or all. Yes, of course, I know enough to know that some of these things with the contractors, it is plainly so that the new person wants to get fresh corruption 10%, or they want to give it to a new contractor who will pay that, I think we should say it's proverbial now, the proverbial 10% to the new regime. But it is right for someone to do an audit before they begin. Is that not correct? Yes, Yamson. Yes, you're unmute your microphone. Unmute your mic.
Yes. I'm on now, right?
Yes.
Okay, so thank you very much. You are right in saying that the succeeding government or the succeeding administration ought to be given an opportunity to audit the projects that have been started before it took office. But I've also listened to the conversations before my joining, and it is clear that we all understand that because government continues, is a continuum, and we have an institution called Parliament, there really ought to be not much need for the sort of or the nature of the audits that we conduct, which my brother has just said, tend to become really a means by which political persons simply reallocate the national cake from one group to another. If Parliament is playing its role, and if as others have said, we have built into our transitional arrangements proper law that ensures that the constitutional requirement that things begun must be completed, in addition to whatever vision a president has, then we would be protecting the public purse much more effectively. The fact remains that we don't seem to have accepted that fiscal waste has long-term developmental consequences. And so we have reduced this matter, which is really a strategic issue, to one of politics and who did what and who started what. But it's not about the name. There is no name on the Volta integrated project. It is Ghana's single greatest achievement. That dam and all the industries that came along with it. But from 1957, the seeds of our failure were sown because we had, as part of that project, the irrigation of the entire Afram plain. Today, it is lost to us. It's lost to us because of politics. It is lost to us because we want to punish the administration that we succeeded. And so now, Ghana will never have the opportunity to reap the benefits of that great vision. There is an issue that we need to confront, that no politician in this country suffers any repercussions for touting massive expenditure on infrastructure that they know they cannot finish, or for abandoning critical infrastructure. I will always laud President Mills, who came into office and made sure that the George Walker Bush Highway was completed, and actually acknowledged the fact that it was begun by President Kufuor. So that capacity is there in our politicians. Only that you are likely to be criticized as a politician for putting the national interest first. In this very administration that we have now, the Tema interchange has been finished, but the initiators have not been acknowledged. The port Terminal 3 has been finished, the airport Terminal 3 has been finished, and it has become a political football. So I think that we continue to harm ourselves by putting the politics first. And unfortunately, we, the people, laud the politicians, as my brother has said, for starting projects and not really for finishing projects. Now, as far back as 2011, there's research that says that 1/3 of all the projects that we start never see completion. And 1/4 of road projects that we begin are abandoned or become part of the waste that is in the public sector. Now, for me, I say that at the end of the day, the buck stops at the door of Parliament because Parliament holds the purse. The purse doesn't sit with the president. It doesn't sit with the administration. They can scream and shout and say all the things they want to say. But it is Parliament that must own up to its responsibility to protect the public purse. And that is where we are failing, and we are giving Parliament a free pass. We should end it. Now, where the administrations have a responsibility is in the fact that the thinking is often not strategic. It is often not about an integrated process. So someone says, I will develop cattle ranches in the north, I will have tanneries in the middle of the country, and I will have factories producing meat products in the south. I will have jutes in the middle of the country to support our cocoa industry. There are logical ways of thinking about developing our economy that we seem to be missing. I've heard it said that we jump from one project to the other. And I think the issue, the word that we have missed here is that there is a disjoint. There is a disjoint between what we actually require for our development and what political players require for electoral success. And how we bridge that gap is the big conversation that the people must have with the political parties.
All right.
Because if the people do not make a demand on the political parties that we want to see, thinking through what we have and ensuring that it becomes a value-generating asset for the country, then the political entities are going to continue to misbehave.
Okay.
And that is not what it is. It is an addiction to promise.
Okay, so we are going to continue.
No commitment to delivery.
We are going to continue this by getting onto the Commander Sugar Factory discussion. And as you may know by now, these things we are talking about, I don't know how you feel about them yourself as you listen and you watch our politicians continue with these things. In Commander, there is sitting there one other huge entity. We spent, is it $36.5 million, money we don't have, $36.5 million. I can imagine what that should be doing for the country. And then later we were told that we are unable to continue because we need some 20-something million, whatever to do, whatever it is. We will return to continue looking at that, using that issue again to ask the question, what exactly are politicians doing to this country? Mr. Yamson has just referred to us and praises Mills. But in that same Mills regime, that's where you had the Kufuor affordable housings as were almost completely abandoned.
Not true.
Then later, when it's about to get to the next campaign season, they start doing something little about it to tell you that, oh, we have given it to SNIT. They should take care of it and all of that, as if the people are not aware. Now, in the end, my question is, does Martin raise a germane issue that there's a need to tweak the Constitution somewhat to compel, rather than say, as far as practicable, continue, make it compulsory, finish that job. And if you don't do it, it is the basis for you to get out of office. And also not to get to a situation where someone is just about to go out of office and they start some flimsy things and leave them around, hang it on the next government. We're taking a break, but these two guys insist on a minute each of some responses. I think it's fair to let them speak.
Then
you can get only a minute. When we get back, we are talking about sugar factory.
No, Samson, I have critical.
My job is to moderate this show.
Let's go and
look, you see the time we are at 10:34.
No, Samson,
which means we have less than we have about 1 hour 30 minutes.
We'll do that in the allotted time for the
no, we are not using 1 hour 30 minutes for one subject. We have another subject to deal with. Do you also want to go and come back?
Yeah, I'll add it to the allotted time.
This is the only time, or we are not allowed.
You are not coming to E-Block.
All right.
Yes.
But how is that fair?
You are not coming to E-Block. You take my instruction or you lose the opportunity.
Samson,
yeah.
You know I'll take your instructions.
Okay.
In fact, I'm tempted to give 2 awards on this show. Another one to Bento of Imani. You see, he diagnosed it rightly. He says that the promise from John Dramani Mahama was a knee-jerk reaction in response to the free SHS policy. That from day one, it was not feasible. And he actually was able to diagnose, like I said, and make us understand that there is absolutely no way they could have done 200 schools in 4 years. And no wonder, although they had one set of 18 months and another set of 17 months, they only could complete 29. And we who have completed 30 and are still working on others, they use the word abandonment on us to achieve a propaganda effect. So Imani too, his diagnosis is excellent. And where I agree with him more or less, or it's legitimate, the point he made, was where he said something like Saglemi. Was it necessary to, let's say, channel state resources into Saglemi, where Kufuor affordable housing is still hanging? Or for us to, even this administration, to try and start a new one when Saglemi is hanging. And again, it came to the issues I mentioned with contractual issues, where the agreement from Parliament said build 5,000 homes. You are a government, realize that it has been reduced. The question is that, what are the contractual issues? So these are the things we must look at so that we help the state.
The project is almost finished, Sagleme.
Yeah.
You want to prosecute people for some wrong they may have done. That is fine.
But
finish it.
No, I agree.
And let people benefit.
I agree with
because it's our money.
No, I agree with you that we have to deal with the legal or whatever issues are. But you see, when someone creates the impression that, oh, they've abandoned it, like I said, when you go into detail, realize that there are things to be addressed. And it's not to say don't address them. We have to address them.
Okay.
But when governments have shown some faith in addressing an issue, it is not correct for the opposition only to use the word abandonment and abandonment.
Okay. All right.
So that they get...
Thank you. Yes, you want to, on the E-blocks?
Okay, well, the first point I want to make is that The abandonment of developmental projects that we have seen under this government in the last 4 years is unprecedented. Never in the history of this country have we seen the neglect of developmental projects on this large scale. And so the attempt to box politicians together and say that this is a failure of the political elites and that NDC, NPP have done the same is neither here nor there. That is hypocritical. It is not true. We inherited the Bui Dam project from President Kufuor in 2009. It was at a 30% completion stage. We even procured SS funding of over $100 million and we completed Bui Dam. We inherited the Irojot hospital projects, about 7 of them. The funding arrangement, which had been approved by Parliament under the Kufuor administration, didn't fall through. But we floated bonds worth 400 million Ghana cedis, and we continued those projects. The Gang of 6 projects, N1, Sufu Line Interchange, Suhum Bypass, Achimota of Anko, Tetekweshi, Madina Pantai. This government started the projects without allocating a peswa for the completion of the GOG components of those projects. We found the money and we completed those projects. They have come into office. These e-blocks we are talking about, I can give you a list, if you have the time, of more than 50 e-blocks that they have abandoned. And this issue that Okuboy is raising, that, even though the promise was in 2012, we started in 2014 and we didn't finish, and so what? We made a promise in 2012 as part of the campaign. We took office in 2013. Construction started in 2014. Now, we did 124, awarded 124, fully completed 46, and your own handing over nose bears that out. You promised to build 350 secondary schools. You are in your 5th year. You've not built one. You have no shame. You are rather attacking a government which promised 200, awarded 124, completed 46, with the rest at different levels of completion. What kind of hypocrisy is this? Then, this whole issue about the affordable housing that Samsi, you've been saying over and over again that we abandoned. It is not true. The project was made up of 4,702 housing units. 1,572 of that was given to SNET, the one at Botema. 1,572 in 2013, not in an election year, 2013. And the projects were completed in July 2016. Again, the ones at Asokore Mampon, made up of 1,052 units, were given to SNET to complete in 2014, and they were completed in 2018.
Thank you.
So let's not create the impression that all governments have done what this government has done. What they are doing is shameful.